So first up, tonight's Met Gala is once again going to be an extravagant event, attended by some of fashion's elite and New York high society. But this year's theme has already turned out to be extremely controversial. The event will be honoring the late Karl Lagerfeld, the German fashion designer, creative director, artist, and photographer. The dress code is essentially going to be a tribute to him and his legacy, which is a decision that many people have called into question. Karl Lagerfeld will forever be known as a fashion icon and influential designer. He was at the helm of Chanel for over 3 decades, as well as designing for Fendi and his own label, but he was also known for his complete lack of filter, and he had no issue sharing his problematic views. Some of these views were considered fat-phobic, misogynistic, and racist. Karl had a history of openly criticizing women's bodies, especially if they didn't fit into the beauty standards of high fashion. Not even celebrities were safe from his commentary. He once called Adele too fat and Heidi Klum too heavy. He also mocked movements like the body positivity movement and made some pretty outrageous claims about eating disorders. For instance, in a 2009 interview with Focus magazine, he straight up said that no one wants to see curvy women and that the only people complaining about thin models were bigger women. That same year, in an interview with Harper's Bazaar, he said that Coco Chanel wasn't ugly enough to be a feminist. Aside from holding up thin ideals, Karl was also strongly against the Me Too movement. In 2018, he said, "I'm fed up with it. What shocks me most in all of this are the starlets who have taken 20 years to remember what happened." He also defended fellow designers who were accused, like Carl Templer, the creative director at Interview magazine. At the time, he said that he didn't believe a single word of it and claimed that the models should pursue other professions if they don't want to deal with something similar. Quote, "A girl complained that he tried to pull her pants down, and he is instantly excommunicated from a profession that up until then had venerated him. It's unbelievable. If you don't want your pants pulled about, don't become a model. Join a nunnery. There will always be a place for you in a convent." Karl's controversial beliefs also extended to his opinion on LGBTQ rights. His view on same-sex marriage has always been a little murky. In 2010, he suggested that he was against it, and then a few years later, he expressed support, although he never believed that gay couples should be allowed to adopt children. But despite his history of making these offensive comments, the fashion industry never really made a move against him. In fact, they still embraced him as a creative genius and were willing to overlook a lot of things he said just for the sake of his art. But that sentiment might already be changing. One of Karl's biggest critics is undoubtedly Jameela Jamil. When the theme was announced in October, she called out the Met Gala on Twitter. She wrote, "This man was indeed supremely talented, but used his platform in such a distinctly hateful way, mostly towards women, so repeatedly and up to the last years of his life, showing no remorse, offering no atonement, no apology, no help to the groups that he attacked. There was no explanation for his cruel outbursts." Jameela went on to list the ways in which she believed that Karl was problematic and unhelpful to certain social movements. She said, "Why is this who we celebrate when there are so many amazing designers out there who aren't bigoted white men? What happened to everyone's principles and advocacy? You don't get to stand for justice in these areas and then attend the celebration of someone who's revealed his own public disdain for marginalized people." And just 2 weeks before the event, the team behind the high fashion Twitter Met Gala account said that they would not be covering it just because of the theme. They sent out a tweet saying, "As we approach the first Monday of May, the HF Twitter Met Gala team would like to announce that we will not be celebrating this year's Met Gala, as our values don't align with the selection of Karl Lagerfeld as the theme." The account coordinator spoke to Time magazine about the decision. She said, "A lot of us are actually part of the communities that Karl Lagerfeld has targeted in his hateful speech, and a lot of the people who participate in our event are part of those communities as well. It's not that we're not acknowledging his legacy, and we're not denying it either, but part of his legacy are the harmful things that he's said and done. We don't really want to partake in celebrating that." But even though more and more people are now speaking out against the theme, it's clear that the Met Gala plans to go ahead with celebrating the designer, which means that this year, all eyes will be on the red carpet to see how celebrities interpret his complicated legacy. They might choose to put his career in a positive light or make a more subversive statement. It's too early to tell what's going to happen, so let's just sit tight and see how it all goes down. Alright, and there's officially more bad news for Adidas. Did you know that they're getting sued over their involvement with Kanye West? Investors are now claiming that the company was aware of his problematic behavior and they failed to take precautionary measures to limit financial losses if the partnership were to end. According to the complaint, executives at Adidas knew about the risks of the partnership and they discussed it as far back as 2018, about 4 years before they were forced to cut ties with the rapper. Investors claim that in that annual report, Adidas ignored some obvious issues with the partnership and hid the potential risk to shareholders. They did this by generally alluding to the risks rather than coming clean and saying that they were actually concerned about Kanye's personal behavior. Apparently, the rapper also made anti-Semitic marks in front of Adidas staff years before he made them publicly, and they chose not to tell anyone about this. The Wall Street Journal published a report on this and claimed that senior executives spoke about how to mitigate the risk of staff interacting with him. So it was completely possible that the company was well aware of his extreme behavior and routinely ignored it for years. As we know, Adidas cut ties with Kanye in October after he made a series of anti-Semitic remarks. At the time, they released a statement saying, "Ye's recent comments and actions have been unacceptable, hateful, and dangerous, and they violate the company's values of diversity and inclusion, mutual respect, and fairness." But since then, the company have launched an internal investigation after it was reported that Kanye created a toxic work environment. In an open letter, several staff members claimed that their bosses were aware of his problematic behavior, but they chose to turn off their moral compass. In response, Adidas said that it was not clear whether these accusations were even true, but they insisted that they would take it very seriously and launch an independent investigation into the matter. But we already know that there is some truth to this. In October, the rapper posted a 30-minute long video on YouTube called Last Week. Around 10 minutes into the video, you could see Kanye sitting down with Adidas executives inside an empty room. He was holding his phone horizontally in front of them and showing them a video. After several seconds, the men start to realize that he's actually showing them an X-rated movie. They were obviously getting uncomfortable, and one of them even said, "Jesus Christ, come on man, come on." But despite their reaction, Kanye continues to hold his phone close to their faces. So what was the point of this whole thing? Well, he was apparently trying to draw some kind of parallel between how they felt watching the video and how he feels when they steal his ideas. And judging by all their reactions, they seemed like they were used to dealing with this kind of unprofessional behavior from him. So it's possible that they knew about his views all along. But in response to this latest lawsuit, the company is denying any culpability. They released a statement saying, "We outright reject these unfounded claims and will take all necessary measures to vigorously defend ourselves against them." Well, regardless of who is at fault, investors clearly need someone to blame for this failed partnership. Since cutting ties with Kanye, the company has bled millions of dollars. As it stands, Adidas is projected to lose $750 million this year, which will be their first annual loss in 31 years. And this all comes down to whether or not they are able to repurpose all these unsold Yeezy products, of course without Kanye's name and branding on them. For instance, it was suggested that selling the sneakers under their own branding would save them about $300 million in royalty payments. So there is a potential for them to be able to do this with the other Yeezy inventory as well. The CEO released a statement saying that 2023 will be considered a transition year for the company, as they hope to become profitable again in 2024. He said, "Adidas has all the ingredients to be successful, but we need to put our focus back on our core: product, consumers, retail partners, and athletes. The numbers speak for themselves. We are currently not performing the way we should. We need to put the pieces back together again, but I'm convinced that over time we will make Adidas shine." Alright, now if you're a fan of Wes Anderson's movies, you need to see this new TikTok trend. His films are super impressive that it's so hard to imagine anyone effectively replicating them. But believe it or not, this new trend has been going around on TikTok, and it proves that anyone can actually nail his signature style. People have taken inspiration from his movies and they want to try and romanticize their ordinary activities. The results are actually mind-blowing. On TikTok, the hashtag Wes Anderson has achieved almost 600 million views, and these videos have drawn tens of thousands of views each, and in some cases they've drawn millions. What's so incredible is how well they capture the eccentric style of Wes Anderson's movies, with its distinctive color palettes and overall quirkiness. The best part about it is the videos will often feature everyday events, like commuting to work, having lunch with a friend, or just making a sandwich. But when these moments get edited in the right way, it looks like there's something straight out of a cinema. It starts off with the hilarious prompt like, "Please don't act like you're in a Wes Anderson film today." Then of course, the creators proceed to do just that. The trend brings out the best part of the director's projects, which always have such a specific, aesthetically pleasing look, and that really makes them stand out among the rest. From the composition of each shot to the way the films are edited, it's incredibly distinctive. Luckily, you don't have to be a film fanatic to edit your life Wes Anderson style. It's actually pretty easy to replicate. So here are a few tips to make your video as accurate as possible. The general rule of thumb is that everything needs to be whimsical, like the color grading, the set design, and quirky costuming. costuming. You can then add in things like symmetrical shots and playful music. The only thing you really need is a cell phone and some basic editing software. For instance, Anderson likes to create interest through stillness, which means you want to keep the camera as static as possible to replicate his style. So you might like to avoid any camera movements that are way too quick and messy, like panning from one thing to another. Also, we don't see a lot of angle shots in his movies, so it's best to point the camera straight at the subject and keep everything else straight and symmetrical. If anything, this trend just proves that you don't need fancy camera equipment or storybook locations to start romanticizing things in your life. Over the course of his career, Anderson has cultivated an instantly recognizable visual style, which has earned him hordes of admirers over the years. But his movies are not just aesthetically pleasing, they also tell a really good story. A lot of them are about misfits finding their place, which can take the form of coming-of-age stories or even stories about a midlife crisis. And sometimes putting these different stages of life side by side in the same movie makes it more of a parallel narrative. His projects usually have an element of comedy with tragedy weaved in, and this works really well with that classic deadpan delivery and absurd character designs. To date, he has made around 22 movies, and he prefers to work with some of the same cast members repeatedly. So there are a lot of factors that go into making Wes Anderson's work what it is today.
Number 10. Indya Moore. 2022 looks to be the last time we will be seeing Indya Moore at the Met Gala. The actor and model made a statement after the event about how they felt about the whole thing. They said at the time in a post on Instagram, "This will probably be my last Met Gala. I had to really think about it if it is truly in alignment with what I care about." Along with sharing photos of the event, they also posted a clip of Black Lives Matter protest, which took place just outside the Met. Indya wrote, "People are protesting and arrested in the name of what so many of us who attended care deeply about." Going on to write, "They were arrested most likely because they were perceived as a threat to those of us who were there." Considering they shared their feelings on such a public platform, presumably Anna won't offer another invite next time. But even if she did, Indya would most likely not attend. Number 9. Britney Spears. Known as the Princess of Pop, many expected to see her at least one time in the Met Gala during her long career. But Britney has actually never been, and it looks like she may never go. Many expected to see the star last year for the event, but fans were less disappointed when she didn't arrive. She revealed in an Instagram post why she opted out, writing, "I was going to go to the Met Gala, but instead I got in the tub with my dog and put PJs on." She also added, "I hate flying." Though she has claimed she was invited, some aren't too positive. Regardless, many are holding hope she will attend this year, with fans writing about how iconic the whole thing would be, as well as how she would be the talk of the night. But with recent concerning posts on her social media, it's hard to say if she will be getting an invite this year at all. Anna may also take into account how big it would be if Britney did come through, and how it could possibly take away from the event. Number 8. Gwyneth Paltrow. Gwyneth Paltrow has been to the event many times in the past, but it seems like one time in 2013 really made her rethink the whole thing. She explained how she really just didn't enjoy the gala at all during an interview with the radio hosts Kyle and Jackie O. She shared, "It sucked. It seems like it's the best thing in the world. You always think, oh my god, it's gonna be so glamorous and amazing and you're gonna see all these people. But when you get there, it's so hot and it's so crowded and everyone's pushing you." She added how she didn't really get the appeal, saying, "I think we're all a bit too old to dress up as punk." Explaining the alleged chaos of the night, she tells the hosts, "Kanye West was playing and he was furious and he threw his microphone down. It was all drama. I don't know why, but it was a disaster." Though she claimed to basically hate the whole thing, it didn't stop her from attending the gala a few years later. Gwyneth hasn't officially been uninvited as far as we know, but with Anna cutting down the list much more, I'm sure she's going to remove all the people who ever spoke badly about the event. Number 7. Amber Heard. Anna Wintour tries to avoid anyone that she deems problematic from attending the Met Gala. Amber Heard was involved in a pretty messy defamation case made against her by her ex-husband Johnny Depp. The whole trial was highly publicized, leaving the star with many worldwide critics. The trial ended with the jury validating Johnny that Amber had lied, that he was violent towards her before and during their marriage. The jury also found that Amber was defamed by one of Johnny's lawyers, who accused her of creating a detailed hoax, what suggested she roughed up their apartment to look worse to police. Johnny was then awarded more than $10 million and Amber received $2 million in damages. Amber posted on her Twitter afterward, "I'm disappointed with what this verdict means for other women. It's a setback." She went on to say, "It sets back the clock to a time when a woman who spoke up and spoke out could could be publicly humiliated. Since this took place not too long ago and Amber's massive step back from social media, many are in agreement that we won't be seeing her at this year's event. Number 6. Kanye West. Kanye has been to the Met a few times in the past, but considering his controversial last couple of years, it's a pretty sure thing he won't be attending this year's Met Gala. Getting logged out of your Twitter account is really not a good look. Last year, a spokesperson confirmed to BuzzFeed News and said, "The account in question has been locked due to a violation of Twitter's policies." This decision came after Kanye decided to rant about Jewish people in a tweet that was removed for violating its guidelines. He quickly was faced with a massive amount of backlash and was accused of being anti-Semitic. He then went on to tweet, "I can't be anti-Semitic because black people are actually Jewish also." Many Jewish groups blasted the rapper and suggested he make his points without using anti-Semitism. But that isn't all. Aside from some pretty iffy things he's done, from interrupting Taylor, making allegations against George Bush, saying slavery seemed like a choice, he also has an odd friendship with a former president. It's pretty public knowledge that Anna Wintour isn't a fan of Donald Trump, but it looks like Kanye might be. And considering Donald Trump has a permanent ban from the Met Gala, it's looking like the same could be happening for Kanye. With his unpredictable behavior, it's expected that Anna won't risk her event by sending the star an invite. Number 5. Jamila Jamil. With the late Karl Lagerfeld being the theme of the event, Jamila hasn't been shy to share her feelings on this decision. Jamila called out the Met and said, "This man was indeed supremely talented, but used his platform in such a distinctly hateful way, mostly towards women. So repeatedly and up until the last years of his life, showing no remorse." Going on to add, there was no explanation for his cruel outburst. The star, who is also known as a body empowerment activist, also shared that she believed Karl was someone who reveled in his own public disdain for marginalized people. She went on to call the Met out for not picking literally any other designer, considering there are so many who are arguably less problematic. She shared, "Why is this who we celebrate when there are so many amazing designers out there who aren't bigoted white men?" Jamila even revealed proof of his behavior and included a part of Karl's past interview where he called Adele a little bit too fat. Not only that, but in another interview he shared his feelings about the Me Too movement in 2018, saying he was fed up with it, and reportedly told models to join a nunnery to avoid the possibility of SA. But since Anna loved Karl and the two were good friends, I highly doubt she'd invite someone who dislikes him so publicly to an event that's themed around him. Number 4. Blake Lively. Though it hasn't been confirmed if the star was invited or not, she's an honorable mention since she just recently announced that she will not be attending this year's gala. Blake Lively has been named as the Queen of the Met Gala, as she has proven throughout the years just iconic she is with her fashion choices and unproblematic behavior. But now a mother of 4 with her husband Ryan Reynolds, it's looking like she just may be a little bit too busy this year to make it to the big event. At the reopening of the Tiffany & Co. 5th Avenue, New York City, Blake was asked if we'll be seeing her at this year's Met Gala. She answered by saying, "You will not, but I will be watching." The reporters went on to compliment her previous looks, to which she responded by saying, "Thank you, that's really sweet. I'll be wearing that on my couch on Monday." This left fans wondering if it was just her who wasn't attending, but I can't imagine Ryan would attend without her. Though she didn't specify why we wouldn't see her this year, it's clear that she's a very busy woman. With parenting and supporting Ryan's soccer team that he co-owns, it's most likely all a little bit too much. Number 3. Adele. Considering her fame, you would think she would definitely have made an appearance at the Met at least once. But that is just not the case for Adele. Since snubbing the event a couple years ago, she may find herself without an invite anyways. On the night of the Met back in 2021, Adele opted to go to an In-N-Out burger instead of hanging out with her fellow celebrities. Fans love that she decided to skip the event to get fast food, with one Twitter user calling her the realest of them all. One other user added, "She has her priorities right." Adele ended up skipping out in the event the next year, but decided to be a bit more private about her reasoning. Later, the singer explained how she really just is a private person. She said in an interview, "I'm trying to make a conscious effort to stop being so anal with my privacy. I'm trying not to be two completely different versions of myself." Going on to say, "It is a bit exhausting switching on and off. It looks like this year won't be any different from previous ones though, as it seems she's planning on skipping out again. I mean, it would be tough to go to an event honoring a man who said you were a little bit too fat back in 2012. When that comment was publicized, Adele responded by saying, "I've never wanted to look like the models on the cover of magazines. I represent the majority of women and I'm very proud of that." Karl received quite a bit of backlash after these harsh words, and he had come out with an apology, claiming his words were taken out of context. He said at the time, "I know how it feels when the press is mean mean to you in regards to your appearance. Adele is a beautiful girl. But clearly he didn't learn his lesson and made another remark in the past, saying, "No one wants to see curvy women. You've got fat mothers with their bags of chips sitting in front of the television and saying that thin models are ugly." I mean, after all that, I think Adele will skip the event again this time around. Number 2, Zayn Malik. Zayn Malik only attended the event once, but it seems like once was completely enough. Zayn went to the event for the first time in 2016 with his then girlfriend Gigi Hadid, and despite looking great, he reportedly really didn't like the experience. He told GQ that the only reason he went was because his stylist suggested it would be good for him. He explained how the whole thing was self-indulgent. He said at the time, "Now it's not something I would go to. I'd rather be sitting at my house doing something productive than dressing up in really expensive clothes and being photographed on a red carpet." Well, he clearly doesn't want to go regardless. It has been rumored that he has even been banned from the event, as reported by the Cosmopolitan. Though this hasn't been proved, it's unlikely we'll ever see him at an event again. And at number 1, we have Tina Fey. The Met Gala is really the event to attend if you're lucky enough to get invited and you can afford the ticket, which is at over $30,000. But some stars just don't see it like that and believe the event is really not worth the hype. Tina Fey went to the Met Gala for the last time in 2010 and essentially vowed to never return. Tina spoke to David Letterman back in 2015 and went on to describe the singular time she went to the event. And honestly, she doesn't sell it. She said, "It's such a jerk parade. Every jerk from every walk of life is there wearing like some stupid thing. I dragged my husband along with me, which I'm still in trouble for." She went on to say, "Everyone is there. Everyone. If you had a million arms, all the people you would want to punch are there. Clearly, I will never go again." I feel like after those comments, she won't have to worry about getting an invite anyways. Number 10, Adele. Skipping an event to get a burger is an iconic move, and that's exactly what Adele did. Adele snubbed the Met Gala a couple years ago, but was caught looking to have other plans. On the night of the Met back in 2021, Adele opted to go to an In-N-Out burger instead of hanging out with her fellow celebrities. Fans love that she decided to skip the event to get fast food, with Twitter users calling her the realest of them all. One other user added, "She has her priorities right." Adele ended up skipping out on the event the next year, but decided to be a bit more private about her reasoning. Later, the singer explained how she really is just a private person. She said in an interview, "I'm trying to make a conscious effort to stop being so anal with my privacy. I'm trying not to be two completely different versions of myself." Going on to say, "It is exhausting switching on and off. It looks like this year won't be any different from previous ones though, and it seems she's planning on skipping out again, especially considering she has a bit of a bad past with Karl Lagerfeld, who is the theme of the night." In a 2012 interview when talking about Adele, Karl shared, "She's a little too fat, but she has a beautiful face and a divine voice." I mean, I don't think I'd go to an event celebrating someone who said that about me either. Number 9, we have Rihanna. Considering there was a statue made of her, you would think she would have attended the event last year, but that just wasn't the case. Rihanna has been more of a regular at the event for years now and always comes through with insanely show-stopping outfits. But last year, fans were left wondering where she was. The night she skipped was actually the night that the Met and Vogue revealed their collaboration, which was a tribute to Rihanna and her pregnant Vogue cover. They ended up transforming the photo into a statue, which was paying tribute to the Greek goddess of peace. The caption of the video, which debuted the statue, read, "The statue is usually the highest profile marble goddess, but now we've got Rihanna, straight off this month's Vogue cover." When the statue was revealed, Rihanna tweeted, "Shut down the Met in marble. What's more gilded than that? Thank you for this historic tribute." Number 8, Jamila Jamil. With the late Karl Lagerfeld being the theme of the night, Jamila hasn't been shy to share her feelings on the decision. Jamila called out the Met and said, "This man was indeed supremely talented, but used his platform in such a distinctly hateful way, mostly towards women, so repeatedly and up until the last years of his life, showing no remorse." Going on to add, "There was no explanation for his cruel outbursts." The star, who is also known as a body empowerment activist, also shared that she believed Karl was someone who reveled in his own public disdain for marginalized people. She went on to call out the Met for not picking literally any other designer, considering there are so many who are arguably less problematic. She shared, "Why is this who we celebrate when there are so many amazing designers out there who aren't bigoted white men?" Jamila even revealed proof of his behavior and included a part of Karl's past interview where he called Adele a little too fat. Not only that, but in another interview he shared his feelings about the Me Too movement back in 2018, saying how he was fed up with it and reportedly told models to join a nunnery to avoid the possibility of SA. But since Anna loved Karl and the two were good friends, and Jamila is so publicly snubbing the event, she may have lost her invites for the future. Number 7, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. With all the drama surrounding the couple, Harry Harry and Meghan have been labeled as the ones who bring the drama. Because of this, it could easily cost them an invite to this year's Met Gala. The couple are currently next up to be snubbed at the event, which is just days before King Charles' coronation. A PR expert has now spoken out as the couple are receiving divided opinions as they continue to publicly discuss how hard it was with the other royals at Windsor. During the time of promoting his novel, Harry has repeatedly asked his father King Charles to apologize before accepting an invite to the coronation. But I'm sure in a tense household, considering Harry has also branded Queen Camilla as a dangerous woman, the PR expert explained, looking ahead at next year's gala, which is arguably Hollywood's most prestigious red carpet event, it currently remains unclear whether Prince Harry and Meghan will receive an invite or not. Also adding, it certainly wouldn't come as a major surprise if they were snubbed given their current status within the royal family and the ensuing drama. The expert does reveal that with the invite it could possibly boost public reputation in America, while also explaining how even if they were invited, they may not attend as they wouldn't want any negative headlines so close to the coronation. He says, I believe that even if the couple does receive an invite, they aren't likely to attend as they will face scrutiny, no matter how hard they try to minimize the fallout, especially with how close it is to the royal coronation. As the two are looking to keep a pretty low profile in the past few months, I guess only time will tell if Anna Wintour is willing to look past their bad press. But it has been reported that Anna may even pass inviting them at all in fears that if they do get an invite and then snub the event, it could look bad on Anna and the whole of the Met. Number 6. Blake Lively. Blake Lively and her husband Ryan Reynolds have been dubbed as the Met Gala royalty from their iconic looks year after year. So why is she snubbing the event this year? Blake, who is now a mother of 4, is looking like she's just maybe a little bit too busy this year to make it to the big event. At the reopening of the Tiffany & Co. 5th Avenue, New York City, Blake was asked if we'll see her at this year's gala. She answered by saying, "You will not, but I will be watching." The reporters went on to compliment her previous looks, what she responded by saying, "Thank you, that's very sweet. I'll be wearing that on my couch on Monday." This left fans wondering if it was just her who wasn't attending, but I can't imagine Ryan would attend without her. Though she didn't specify why we wouldn't see her this year, it's clear that she is a very busy woman. With parenting and supporting Ryan's soccer team that he co-owns, it's most likely all a bit too much for the mother. It's most likely all a bit too much for Blake. Number 5. Demi Lovato. The singer and former Disney star has only ever attended the Met Gala one time, but looks like once was more than enough. In an interview with Billboard, Demi recalls the event as just being a terrible experience. The singer has been more open about her struggles with the addiction and her journey with sobriety over the years. When Demi attended the event, she was living a sober lifestyle. She shared saying, "I remember being so uncomfortable that I wanted to drink." Demi even ended up leaving the gala to attend an AA meeting instead, which can't be good for Anna to hear. Demi went on to explain how awful a certain guest was, without going into names, but recalling just how terrible they were to be around. Demi says when recalling the 2016 gala, it was very cliquey. After texting her manager, she left at 10 p.m. to go to the meeting, saying, "I related more to the homeless people in that meeting who struggled with the same struggles I deal with than the people at the Met Gala." I think it's safe to say, regardless if she gets invited or not in the future, she won't be making an appearance for a while. Number 4. Britney Spears. Despite her massive fame and popularity, Britney has never attended the event. But was she invited but skipped the event instead? Many fans were looking for the pop icon at last year's Met Gala, but she was nowhere to be seen. This left a few viewers curious as to if she'd be invited at all. She revealed in an Instagram post why she opted out, writing, "I was going to go to the Met Gala, but instead I got in the tub with my dog and put PJs on." She also added, "I hate flying." Though she has claimed she was invited, some aren't too positive. Regardless, many are holding hope that she will attend in the future, with fans writing about how iconic the whole thing would be, as she would be the talk of the night. But is that a bit concerning for Anna? A few have suggested that Britney's appearance at the event could overshadow the fundraising gala. Number 3. Beyonce. Beyonce snubbed the event back in 2021, but it looks like she had other plans. In the past, Beyonce rarely would miss the event, showing up in amazing outfits with her husband by her side. So fans were confused why she was absent. Turns out she got an offer that she just couldn't refuse. Beyonce and her husband and her children decided to sail around the Mediterranean, instead on Jeff Bezos' $500 million mega yacht. The star posted photos on her Instagram showing her family holiday. Honestly, I think she made a pretty good call with this one, since reports have always said how crowded the event can really get. And really, who wouldn't want to be on a yacht? Number 2, we have Zendaya. Last year, fans were left disappointed when Zendaya had to skip the event due to a scheduling conflict. In an interview with Extra, she was asked if she would make an appearance in 2022, and she responded by saying, "I hate to disappoint my fans, but I will be working. Your girl's gotta work and make some movies. I wish everyone the best." She went on to add that she'd be too busy playing tennis to be able to attend. She shared, "I'll be back eventually, and I'll keep delivering in other ways." This isn't the first time that she's been opting out of the event though. Back in 2021, she was unfortunately too busy with work to be able to show off her outfit. She explained in an interview at the time, "My fans are going to be very upset with me. I will unfortunately not be able to attend because I'll be working for Euphoria." And at number 1, we have Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift, who is currently doing her Eras tour, is such a mega star that her skipping out is such a big disappointment to her fans. But with that level of fame, you can only imagine how many scheduling conflicts that would arise. The event itself has quite a bit of history for her though. It's where her ex-boyfriend Tom Hiddleston was first filmed dancing with her. Her song Getaway Car is said to even be inspired by the romance and her Met Gala experience with her then boyfriend. So why, after attending 6 times in the past, would she skip out in the 2019 event? Looks like she was about to start her world tour at the time and just couldn't manage both. But that wasn't the last time she would skip out. Taylor ended up not attending again in 2022, which didn't surprise fans much since she didn't attend the last couple of years. The last Met that Taylor did attend was in 2016 and is actually the place where she hinted she met Joe Alwyn in her Reputation song Dress. With being so busy, it makes sense that she isn't prioritizing the big event.
Number 10, Donald Trump. Before he was president of the United States, Trump was a fixture at the Met Gala. It was there that he proposed to his third and current wife Melania in 2004. He appears to have worn the same tuxedo to the event every year, while Melania's outfits varied a lot. She was often seen in lavish gowns from designers like Dolce & Gabbana, Vera Wang, and Roberto Cavalli. The Trumps used to be regular guests at the event, but all that eventually changed somewhere around 2016. 10 months after he was inaugurated as president, Anna Wintour appeared on The Late Show with James Corden. She was then asked a very interesting question. James said, "Everyone from Beyonce to George Clooney attends. So my question is, who would you never invite back to the Met Gala?" Anna paused for a few seconds and then she said, "Donald Trump." She didn't even give a specific reason for banning him from the gala, but she doesn't really need one. Anna has hosted the event since 1999, so whatever she says goes. Although it clearly had something to do with how people felt about the new president after he moved into the White House. It turns out she kept her word over the years because Trump's last appearance at the gala was in 2012. Number 9, Demi Lovato. The singer opened up about her experiences at the gala during an interview with Billboard in 2018, and she hasn't attended another one since. She said, "I had a terrible experience. This one celebrity was a complete B and was miserable to be around. It was very cliquey. I remember being so uncomfortable that I wanted to drink." It was pretty obvious that she was talking about Nicki Minaj. The two of them bumped into each other on the red carpet and things got very awkward. Demi then posted a photo to Instagram of the exact moment and it was hilarious. In the picture, you can see Nicki glaring at her, like she doesn't even try to hide the fact that she hates her. She captioned the photo saying, "This picture pretty much summed up my first and probably last Met. P.S. Some of y'all need to learn how to take a joke. I'm obviously laughing at the fact that number 1, I look incredibly awkward, and number 2, the shade being thrown in this picture actually gives me life." Demi went directly from the event to an AA meeting, and she said, "I changed my clothes, but I still had my diamonds on, millions of dollars of diamonds on in an AA meeting. And I related more to the homeless people in that meeting who struggled with the same struggles that I deal with than the people at the Met Gala, fake and sucking the fashion industry's D." Number 8, Zayn Malik. There's a theory that the former One Direction star has been banned from the Met Gala by Anna Wintour after a 2018 GQ interview resurfaced where he throws huge shade at the event. He spoke about his 2016 appearance with Gigi Hadid and said, "I did go, but I didn't go there to be like, yo, take me serious. I was taking the piss. I went there as my favorite Mortal Kombat character Jax." He went on to say that the Met Gala is not necessarily anything that he ever knew about or planned on going to, but his former stylist was the one to say that the event would be a really good thing for him to do. He explained that no matter how strong you are mentally, you can always be swayed to do certain things. Zayn then doubled down on the fact that he would not normally think of attending. He said, "Now, it's not something I would go to. I'd rather be sitting at my house doing something productive than dressing up in really really expensive clothes and being photographed on a red carpet. To do the self-indulgent, look at me, I'm amazing thing on the red carpet, it's not me. The way he was speaking about the event, you would think he was almost embarrassed to be seen there. So it's not surprising that he only ever went the one time. Number 7, Will Smith. It would come as no surprise if the actor was to be straight up banned from the Met Gala, considering his contentious history at last year's Oscars, where, as everyone knows, he walked up to Chris Rock and slapped him on the face, all because he made a joke about his wife Jada Pinkett Smith. The consequences of that moment are still occurring today. Will has apologized for his actions several times, however, he was recently called out again, this time by Chris Rock during his Netflix special Selective Outrage. During his set, the comedian once again brought up the incident at the Oscars, and he made it clear that the reason he was attacked is because Will felt somewhat emasculated in his relationship with Jada. For his part, Chris finally unleashed his opinion on the whole thing, and he clearly did not accept Will's apology, nor does he think that he had any valid reason to walk up on stage and slap him across the face. Although the incident happened a full year ago now, it doesn't seem to be something that people have easily forgotten, and it's been very difficult for Will to make his way back into Hollywood. We all know that he was banned from the Oscars for the next 10 years, and even though he is able to be nominated for an award, he would not be able to go in person to collect it. It's likely that a similar ban has already been placed on him when it comes to the Met Gala. Number 6, Kim Kardashian. For years, the Kardashians have been invited and are well known for not disappointing in the wardrobe department, but according to one source who recently spoke to Page 6, none of them will be invited this time around, despite the fact that all 5 sisters went together last year. The first time Kim attended was in 2013. She said she actually cried after the event because she didn't know anyone there and she was sure that no one wanted her. She'd been trying to score an invite for years, but the fashion world did not accept her. So for some people, it can be very difficult to get in. Years later, she became the center of controversy when she decided to wear the famous Marilyn Monroe dress that was worn by Marilyn herself. This historical gown was worn while she was singing Happy Birthday to President Kennedy in 1962. But the reason why people were so enraged by this was because it didn't actually fit her. The dress was tailored to specifically fit Marilyn at the time. So in order for Kim to fit in the dress perfectly, she went on a strict diet and forced herself into the gown. But of course, she still wasn't the right size and did end up damaging the dress, simply because her proportions just didn't work. So most people don't ever want to see her attempt something like that ever again. Number 5, Lena Dunham. In a Lenny Letter conversation with Amy Schumer, Lena Dunham indicated that she did not enjoy her time at the Met Gala. She said, "You and I were literally sitting across from each other at the Met Ball, and it was like a crazy countdown to when we could escape. You were like, we're honored to be here, we're honored to be here." So just like Amy Schumer, she did not seem to enjoy the event whatsoever and had no issue letting everyone know that she had a bad time. But of course she said this when it was over, just like a lot of other celebrities. What really got people upset about this interview though was her comments about New York Giants wide receiver Odell Beckham Jr. She was seated next to him at the gala, which most people would be excited about, but Lena still wasn't satisfied. Apparently he didn't speak to her at all, and she took that personally. She said, "I was seated next to Odell Beckham Jr. and it was so amazing because it was like, he looked at me and determined I was not the shape of woman by his standards. It was like we were forced to be together and he was literally scrolling on Instagram rather than having to look at a woman in a bow tie." Number 4, Tina Fey. Although the Met Gala is generally considered a glamorous, exclusive event and one that most people would love to attend, there are those celebrities who have admitted that it's pretentious or it just doesn't live up to the hype. That person is Tina Fey. The comedian has always been known for her honesty, so it's no wonder that she came clean with fans about her less than desirable experience at the Met. She spoke to David Letterman about the time she attended in 2010 with the theme of American woman, fashioning, and national identity. She said, "If you had a million arms and all the people you would punch in the world, they're all there. It is so unbelievable. Clearly, I'll never go again, but if you go, it's this beautiful space and it's just every jerk from every walk of life is there wearing like some stupid thing. Even though that stupid thing is often considered high fashion, it can look a little ridiculous when you compare it to regular clothing." Tina went on to call the event a jerk parade. So it's really interesting to see that not every single celebrity is impressed with the gala, even if it takes them years just to score an invitation. And it's something that they have been waiting for a very long time. Sometimes the real thing just turns out to be a major letdown. Number 3, Lily Reinhart. The Riverdale actress actress thinks that she might be banned from this year's gala. During the most recent event in 2022, Lily spoke about the extreme diet that Kim Kardashian did in order to fit into that Marilyn Monroe dress. While chatting with W Magazine, she said that attending the gala is always fun, but after going again this year, she doesn't think she'll be invited back. Quote, "I said a certain something about a certain person in a certain dress. I have always wanted to stand for something. While I don't like it if one comment by me turns into 17 articles in People magazine, I never overthink what I post. It has to be a true representation of how I feel. And I would say that whether I had 100 followers or 100 million. At the time, Lily criticized Kim's extreme diet and said to openly admit to starving yourself for the sake of the Met Gala when you know very well that millions of young men and women are looking up to you and listening to your every word. The ignorance is otherworldly disgusting," which is true, and that's the reason a lot of people took issue with what Kim Kardashian did at the gala. The controversy was not only about the fact that she lost weight to fit into the dress, it was also the fact that she gave a lengthy interview about how she lost weight. Number 2, Gwyneth Paltrow. The actress has always been considered a fashion darling, but she also keeps it real about how unfun such a prestigious event can be. She made it clear that she did not enjoy her time at the gala in the past. She once went on an Australian radio show and spoke to Kyle and Jackie O about the event. She said, "It sucked. It seemed like it was the best thing in the world. You always think, oh my god, it's going to be so glamorous and amazing, and you're going to see all of these people. And then you get there and it's so hot and so crowded and everyone's pushing you. This year, it was really intense. It wasn't fun." So judging from all the celebrity interviews, it seems as though the gala is not all it's cracked up to be. That same year, she also told USA Today that she did not have a good experience and would not consider returning to the event. She said, "I'm never going again. It was so unfun. It was boiling. It was too crowded. I did not enjoy it at all." With comments like that, you would think it would be a self-fulfilling prophecy. After all, why would the event organizers or Anna Wintour herself be inclined to invite someone back if she essentially trashed the gala, especially because it's such a big deal in the fashion world? And coming in at number 1, Jameela Jamil. In October last year, the actress called out the Met Gala for their 2023 theme, which celebrates the late Karl Lagerfeld. She wrote, "This man was indeed supremely talented, but used his platform in such a distinctly hateful way, mostly towards women, so repeatedly and up until the last years of his life, showing no remorse, offering no atonement, no apology, no help to groups he attacked. There was no explanation for his cruel outbursts." She went on to say that he stood against the Me Too movement, gay couples who want to adopt, and he was also fatphobic. Jameela went on to list the ways in which she believes that Karl was problematic and unhelpful to certain social movements. She said, "Why is this who we celebrate when there are so many amazing designers out there who aren't bigoted white men? What happened to everyone's principles and advocacy? You don't get to stand for justice in these areas and then attend the celebration of someone who revealed his own public disdain for marginalized people." But however you characterize the German fashion designer, it's true that this year's event will honor him. Apart from being a fashion legend, he was also known as someone who tells it like it is, even if that brought about controversy.
Number 10, the Kardashians. Now this one might come as a surprise to some fans, but rumors have been circulating that the Kardashians might just not be getting an invite to this year's Met Gala. Sources have come forward saying that Vogue's editor-in-chief, Anna Wintour, who hosts the event, is seriously cutting down on the guest list in this year's gala, which just might not be including the Kardashians this year. However, when this came to light, a source close to the family claimed that none of these allegations are true. If the rumors do turn out to be true, it's definitely going to be a big snub for the family, who were all in attendance at the event last year. While Kim, Kendall, Kylie, and Kris have been going year after year, Khloe and Kourtney have only been once, despite being invited in the past. Anna has had a long and complicated relationship with the Kardashian family. The family was even banned from appearing in Vogue before. That changed after Kim and Kanye appeared on the cover in 2014, just after their Met Gala debut. Anna recalled this decision, saying, "Kim and Kanye were part of the conversation of the day. For Vogue not to recognize that would be deeply, deeply controversial, and that for many of our readers and our audience would be horrified." Perhaps Anna's rumored dislike for Kim has something to do with the non-invite this year. Anna was reportedly not too pleased with Kim's behavior at the 2015 Met Gala, when she took out her phone and snapped a selfie on the red carpet. The next year, a source claims that Anna sent the Kardashian a specific letter, warning them that she did not want to see any phones whatsoever. During an interview with Seth Meyers in 2016, she revealed other times she wasn't quite the biggest fan of the family. According to Anna, she arrived to Kanye West's runway show at the Madison Square Gardens and found herself waiting alone for the Kardashians seconds to arrive. 45 minutes into the show, she noticed others sneaking out and decided to leave along with them. Anna claims she ended up lost in the venue space, saying, "I was lost there for half an hour, asking various people to let me out." She claimed this whole ordeal had her in tears until a security guard eventually came to her rescue. So maybe with all these mishaps in the past, it wouldn't be too surprising for the family to maybe not be in attendance this year. Number 9. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. With all the drama surrounding the royal couple, Harry and Meghan have been labeled as too hot to handle. Because of this, it could easily cost them an invite to this year's Met Gala. The couple are currently next up to be snubbed at the event, which is just days before King Charles' coronation. A PR expert has now spoken out as the couple are receiving divided opinions as they continue to publicly discuss how hard it is to be with the other royals at Windsor. During the time of promoting his novel, Harry has repeatedly asked his father, King Charles, to apologize before accepting his invite to the coronation. "I'm sure it's a tense household considering Harry has also branded Queen Camilla as a dangerous woman." A PR expert explained by saying, "Looking ahead to this next year's gala, which is arguably Hollywood's most prestigious red carpet event, it currently remains unclear whether Prince Harry and Meghan will receive an invite or not." Also adding, it certainly wouldn't come as a major surprise if they were snubbed given their current status with the royal family and the ensuing drama. The expert does reveal that with the invite it could possibly boost their public reputation in America, while also explaining how even if they were invited, they may not attend anyways, as they wouldn't want any negative headlines so close to the coronation. He says, "I believe that even if the couple does receive an invite, they aren't likely to attend, as they will face scrutiny no matter how hard they try to minimize the fallout, especially with how close it is to the royal coronation." As the two are looking to be keeping a low profile the past few months, I guess only time will tell if Anna Wintour is willing to look past their bad press. Number 8. Tim Gunn. With the event being overseen and organized by Anna Wintour, the last thing you would want is to make a bad joke about the Vogue editor-in-chief. But apparently Tim Gunn didn't get that memo. Tim, best known for hosting Project Runway, has never been too much of an Anna Wintour fan, but his downfall is that he's been way too open about that fact. Recalling an old interview which is explained in his 2010 memoir, Tim said, "I was asked by the New York Post, 'What is the most unforgettable moment you've ever seen in fashion?' I was very matter-of-fact in my response, and it was watching Anna Wintour being carried down 5 flights of stairs from a fashion show." Tim goes on to say, "Her office called my office the next day and demanded a retraction, and I said, 'But it's true, it happened.'" Tim then explains that they further demanded a retraction of his statement, but in the end he did refuse. Tim also explains that he never intended this to be an insult, as well as saying, "She's a history revisionist." When asked about their more recent relationship, Tim describes it as hostile, even saying, "There is so much that happens at the unique publication that is so otherworldly. I'm happy to have a bad relationship with it because I wouldn't want to have a good one." Because of Tim not taking back what he said about Anna being carried out, it resulted in a permanent ban from the Met Gala. But as it seems, Tim isn't too concerned about it. Number 7. Coco Rocha. Coco, who is best known for being the first digital supermodels, and she's also the owner of her own modeling agency. Because of her iconic fashion background, you would think that she would be a definite invitee for the Met Gala. But back in 2017, it seemed to all come to an end. Coco had attended the Met Gala a few times in the past, and at the time, when asked if she would be attending the 2017 Met Gala, she responded by saying, "I don't know, I think you're going to have to ask Anna that." Many believe that the reason she stopped being invited due to her reported feud with Katy Perry, who was that year's Met Gala host. The feud supposedly began when Coco went to the Met Gala in 2013 in a leopard print gown. Katy ended up wearing the exact same gown just a few months later at the MTV VMAs, and then was labeled as a copycat. Regards to as why Anna decided she wasn't going to make the list year after year, Coco is another celebrity snubbed from the big event yet again this year. Number 6. Donald Trump. Many of these celebrities don't necessarily have a forever ban from the Met Gala, except for Donald Trump, who holds the title. Back in the early 2000s, the Trumps were regular guests at the event, back before presidency. Of course, we all know things have absolutely changed since then. In 2017, just 10 months after Trump became president, Anna made an appearance on The Late Show with James Corden. James asked, "Everyone from Beyonce to George Clooney attends. So my question is, who would you never invite back to the Met Gala?" Anna responded by saying, "Donald Trump. While she didn't go into further detail, she always has final say. So if he's banned, he's banned. She really doesn't need a reason, which is kind of iconic. Of course, this is most likely how many felt when Donald Trump became president, but she has never said for sure. Clearly, she has kept her word though, as Trump's last appearance at the Met Gala was in 2012. Number 5. Will Smith. Will Smith and his wife Jada have so far never walked down the red carpet at the Met Gala, even though their children Willow and Jaden both have. Seemingly to be a choice of the past, it's looking like they're no longer going to have that option, but to not attend this year. This is due to the Chris Rock slap incident, of course. According to Hollywood Publicist, his actions at the Academy Awards ceremony weren't just bad, but really bad. He went on to say that this stunt has completely damaged his career. During the time, the publicist said, "If you're buying Will Smith stock right now, let's agree, short-term run, not looking good." Though Will did seem to make a joke of the incident on his TikTok recently, where he duets another TikToker's video who is showing an exercise she claims will change your life. The TikTok user suggests looking into themselves, picking up an object, and asking what it thinks of you, claiming the object will speak to you through your own intuition, and reveal something that you may not even be comfortable sharing with yourself. At the end of the video, Will looks to be trying out the experiment himself by picking up his Oscar from the night of the big slap. While many fans loved the video and his silliness, as well as other commenting that he is now forgiven, Anna Wintour may just be trying to avoid any unnecessary drama by inviting him this year. Number 4. Josh Hartnett. Josh, the actor and producer, who is another star who found themselves without an invitation to the Met Gala this year, yet again. Though he has been in many films throughout his career, he isn't nearly as popular as some of the other big names that made their way into the Met Gala guest list. With many fans not thinking much about Josh over the years, it's clear Anna was feeling the same way. Though he has attended the galas before, Anna seemingly just hasn't found him relevant in the recent years. In the 2016 documentary The First Monday in May, viewers see Calvin Klein calling Vogue, requesting to dress Josh and have him sit at his table. To which Vogue responded with, "What has he done lately? Nothing. You guys are all set." I guess a future goal for Josh, as well as every other person in this industry, is maintaining relevancy, or else they could also find themselves without an invitation to the big event. Number 3, we have Rachel Zoe. Rachel is a fashion designer, businesswoman, author, who has really gained her fame from being a celebrity wardrobe stylist. Rachel was once invited to Brian Atwood's table, who is another big name in the fashion industry. But shortly after this, in 2007, it seems she was disinvited. Rachel hasn't been invited back to the Met Gala since, saying she was more influential than Anna Wintour herself. During an interview with the New York Times, she said, "Anna Wintour is one of my heroes, but they say I'm more influential." Since Anna is the editor of Vogue, Anna didn't love these comments, of course, and has removed her name from the guest list since. But Rachel proves that you should never give up hope, and she made comments in 2007, and as Cosmopolitan reports, she returned back in 2012. As it looks currently, with Anna cutting back on the guest list this year, it's looking like it won't be in the fashion designer stars this year though. Number 2, we have Demi Lovato. Demi, the singer and former Disney star who has only ever attended the Met Gala one time, but it looks like once was more than enough. In an interview with Billboard, Demi recalls the event as being a terrible experience. The singer has been open about her struggles with addiction and her journey with sobriety over the years. When Demi attended the event, she was living her sober lifestyle. She shared saying, "I remember feeling so uncomfortable that I wanted to drink." Demi even ended up leaving the gala to attend an AA meeting instead, which can't be good for Anna to hear. Demi went on to explain how awful a certain guest was without going into names, but recalling just how terrible they were to be around. Demi says when recalling the 2016 gala, it was so cliquey, saying, "I related more to the homeless people in the meeting who struggled with the same struggles I deal with than the people at the Met Gala. I think it's safe to say that even if Demi does get an invite this year, it's unlikely she will be attending." And at number 1, we have Amy Schumer. Amy, the comedian, the actor, has once vowed to boycott the Met Gala entirely, saying previously how much she hated the whole thing. She attended back in 2017 but claimed she would never return, saying, "People doing an impression of having a conversation. We're dressed up like a bunch of effing a-holes." She went on to say, "I have no interest in fashion, I don't care. I left earlier than I should have been allowed. I got to meet Beyonce and she was like, 'Is this your first Met Gala?' And I said, 'It's my last.'" But it seems as though she's took that statement back when she showed up in 2022, looking pretty uninterested in being there at all. Because of her past statements and looking seemingly unimpressed at last year's event, and it's looking like Amy might be finding herself without an invite this year.
Okay, so Will Smith has now responded to everything that Chris Rock said about him in his new Netflix special Selective Outrage. As you can pretty much guess, he did not take it well. A source close to the star told Entertainment Tonight Will is embarrassed and hurt by what Chris said about him and his family. He didn't watch it, but he had people tell him what was said everywhere when you look online and on social media. So Will and Jada have seen comments about it. Apparently he thinks the special was distasteful and the insults that Chris threw at Jada were very below the belt. He's also upset that Netflix even gave him the platform to share these messages in the first place. According to The Insider, Will just wants him to move on so that he and everyone else can too. He felt terrible for so long about what happened at the Oscars. He's tried unsuccessfully to make amends in the best way he could. He apologized. He's worked on himself and he got banned from attending the Academy Awards for the next 10 years. He feels like that's enough and he would like Chris to finally move on. A lot of people would agree with that last part given that Chris is rehashing the event almost 1 year after it happened. At first it seemed like he was going to take the high road and not add any fuel to the fire. When he mentioned the incident in his other stand-up shows, he was always very guarded. At one of his shows he said, "Don't expect me to talk about the BS. I'll talk about it at some point on Netflix." And that's exactly what he did. He meticulously waited 1 whole year to speak about it so he could properly cash out on the drama, which is something you really have to give him credit for. It turns out that Selective Outrage was totally worth the wait. Chris not only talked about the incident, but he unleashed months and months of pent-up rage against Will Smith and his wife. It's clearly something he's been holding in ever since he got slapped across the face on live television. He put Will and Jada's relationship on blast and said, "Everybody knows what happened. His wife was effing her son's friend." He pointed out that everyone in Hollywood talks smack about their open relationship, and Will became a laughingstock, but he waited to reassert his masculinity until he could attack a smaller, weaker man. Quote, "She hurt him way more than he hurt me. Who did he hit? Me, someone he knew he could beat. Will Smith is significantly bigger than me. Will Smith does movies with his shirt off. You've never seen me do movies with my shirt off. If I'm in a movie getting open heart surgery, I've still got a sweater." But Chris also asserted that he's not a victim. He said, "You'll never see me on Oprah or Gayle crying. You will never see it, never going to happen." Unlike Will Smith, he's avoided all the usual platforms where celebrities often go to air their feelings. He's turned down countless interviews with media outlets that would have been dying to have him on. Since the events of that night, he said people have asked him why he didn't hit back. In response, he said, "Because I got parents. You know what my parents taught me? Don't fight in front of white people." But a lot of his criticism clearly fell on Jada. He claimed that she was the one who started this whole incident with her entanglement nonsense. Now it seems like the actress is also breaking her silence on the special. An inside source in her crew spoke to People magazine and said, "Jada has no part in all of this other than being heckled. Chris is obsessed with her and that's been going on for almost 30 years. Look where he chose to film his Netflix special, her hometown of Baltimore." Apparently she was shocked at how many times he used the B word when referring to her, which a lot of people would agree was excessive. At one point in the show, Chris insisted that Jada pressured him to quit his job as host of the Oscars, all because Will was snubbed from the Best Actor category. The source hit back at that idea and said, "Back in 2016, she helped start a movement with the Academy Awards by questioning why there are so few black members, and Chris took it to this." Ironically, Will would actually go on to win in that category 6 years later for King Richard. But you might be wondering, how did everyone else react to the stand-up? Are most people still siding with Chris, or is it the other way around now? Leslie Jones voiced her support for him and wrote, "Did y'all forget he got slapped in front of the world? His kids, his mama, his peers, everyone. I wonder how y'all would have handled that. And he is a comedian, this is his way of expressing it. If he's saying he would write a song, because it's a painful thing that happened. Y'all would act like you would be righteous. You are hypocrites. Shut the F up and go sit down." But a lot of people also took issue with his jokes, like the Oscars So White creator April Rain. She said, "Lots of folks are waiting to see if Chris would say Jada's name during Chris Rock Live. He didn't, but he did call her a B, and that seems just as bad, if not worse, to me." April does make a good point in terms of the language that he used to describe Jada. Although she might have been the villain in his story, it doesn't necessarily mean that she should have been attacked on stage in that exact way. So do you think Selective Outrage went too far or not far enough? Please let me know in the comments below. Moving on, are the Kardashians actually banned from the Met Gala? As this year's Met Gala rolls around, people are dying to find out who will be attending, because it's been reported that the editor-in-chief of Vogue, Anna Wintour, is seriously cracking down on the guest list. Since 1995, Anna has decided who makes the guest list for the gala, which is held annually on the first Monday in May and helps fundraise for the Metropolitan Museum of Art's Costume Institute. For years, the Kardashians have been invited and are well known for not disappointing in the wardrobe department. But according to one source who spoke to Page 6, none of them will actually be invited this time around, despite the fact that all all 5 of the sisters went together last year. This is pretty shocking if it turns out to be true. Khloe has previously shut down rumors of not being invited to the gala. In 2019, she took to Twitter and responded to a fan who suggested that she might have gotten snubbed. She said it's absolutely not true. Then during last year's series The Kardashians on Disney+, she revealed that she had turned down invitations in the past because of her anxiety of appearing on red carpets. Kim had a pretty similar experience the very first time she attended the Met Gala in 2013. She said she actually cried after the event because she didn't know anyone and she was sure that no one actually wanted her there. The thing is, she had been trying to score an invite for years, but the fashion world did not accept her, and when that happens, there's no amount of money or fame that can help you. This year, we already know that the event will honor the late Karl Lagerfeld, the German fashion designer, creative director, artist, and photographer. Apart from being a fashion legend, he was also known as someone who tells it like it is, even if that brought about controversy. In 2019, after Kim was robbed in her hotel room in Paris, Lagerfeld was one of the first people to criticize her. He spoke to The Telegraph and said, "I don't know why she was in a hotel with no security. If you're that famous and you put on all your jewelry on the internet, then you go to a hotel where no one could come near the room. You cannot display your wealth and then be surprised that some people want to share it with you." Despite his harsh comments on what would have been a very traumatic experience for her, Kim still remembered him fondly when he passed away in 2019 at the age of 85. She posted photos of them on Instagram and wrote, "We lost a true legend. You were such an inspiration to the world. You shot my first fashion shoot and I was so nervous to work with such an icon. I am beyond honored to have met you and had the opportunity to work with you. You are so loved and will be so missed." But of course, not everyone was happy with the way that she went about that, considering that most of the photos Kim posted were more like modeling photo shoots, and she neglected to mention Karl Lagerfeld's name in the caption. Even though she does have a solid history with the designer, her sister Kendall actually has an even stronger case to score an invite. Karl put her on the Chanel runway several times, and she even closed his fall 2015 show in a bridal suit. So it's possible that Kim will be the only one who won't get chosen to attend this year, and that might also have something to do with her taste in historical dresses. Although she's used to making questionable fashion choices, she sank to a new low when she decided to wear the famous Marilyn dress that was worn by Marilyn Monroe herself while she was singing Happy Birthday to President Kennedy in 1962. The reason why people were so enraged by this was because it didn't actually fit her. The dress was tailored to specifically fit Marilyn at the time, so in order for Kim to fit in the dress, she went on a strict diet and forced herself into the gown. But of course, she did end up damaging the dress, simply because her proportions just didn't work. So most people don't want to see her attempt something like that ever again. In fact, I think there needs to be some kind of petition to keep Kim away from such culturally significant historical clothing. Let me know if you agree. And now some pretty shocking news concerning Julia Fox. On Wednesday, her dad and her brother were taken away in handcuffs after police raided their apartment. What they found sounds like something straight out of Breaking Bad. They came across multiple weapons like ghost firearms, which are unserialized and untraceable, but they also found materials used to manufacture narcotics, so a literal lab to make you know what. What's even more disturbing is that police discovered several chemicals that are used to make explosives, like chloroform and formaldehyde. This was very scary stuff. According to Page 6, they also found pressure cookers, thousands of dollars worth of wine bottles, 3D printers, and unidentified pills. As a result, Christopher and Thomas Fox were both taken into custody. A spokesperson for the NYPD confirmed the arrest and said that the incident is believed to be contained. But we do know that the two of them don't have a criminal history prior to this incident. So how is Julia Fox reacting? She's said to be stunned and heartbroken by the news. Friends of the star have spoken to Page 6 and revealed that she's completely shocked by the arrest, which I'm sure anyone would be if they were in her position. At the time of the raid, Julia was out of town and she is not believed to have known about her family's alleged crimes. The inside source said that Julia thinks her brother Chris is brilliant, but after their difficult childhood, she said that he struggled to believe in himself enough to put his mind to use. Meanwhile, she found a creative outlet in things like fashion. The 33-year-old actress has talked a lot about growing up in the city with her single dad and brother, even though she didn't really see them very often. She said, "I grew up uptown mostly. We moved around a lot. It was kind of unstable. We were homeless at one point. I actually have lived in almost every single neighborhood, Harlem, Chelsea, everywhere. I moved downtown when I was 17 and I haven't left." When speaking about her brother, she said, "He's like a mad scientist recluse. He builds 3D printers for fun." The New York Post reported that her relatives also described him as a mad scientist type who liked to do all sorts of experiments, but they insisted that he was a gentle guy who wouldn't hurt a fly. Well, that might very well be the case, but it doesn't explain what all those illegal materials were doing in his apartment. As of now, he's facing multiple charges, including criminal possession of a controlled substance, manufacture of a rapid-fire modified device, manufacture of a dangerous dangerous instrument and criminal possession of a weapon. Although the arrest came as a shock to Julia, she's likely waiting for the criminal proceedings to take place before she speaks out. So in the meantime, we'll just have to wait for more developments in this crazy story.